Have you ever imagined waking up one day with no memories, forced to start life from zero? Who are you? Where did you come from? And what's your purpose? That's the exact dilemma faced by Alita: Battle Angel, a movie that might look like pure futuristic action on the surface, but actually hides some deep existential questions. Hey everyone, welcome back to Sci-Fi Junkies. Today, we're diving deep into the cyberpunk world of Alita, breaking down its mind-blowing visuals, hidden themes, and the story behind why fans are still begging for a sequel.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars.
The film was released in 2019, directed by Robert Rodriguez, but the idea originally came from James Cameron. Yes, the same director behind Titanic and Avatar. Cameron had long been a fan of the Japanese manga Ganmu by Yukito Kishiro, which became the main source of inspiration for Alita. Unfortunately, Cameron was too busy with his Avatar projects, so the director's chair was handed to Rodriguez. Still, Cameron remained as producer alongside Jon Landau, his longtime partner and co-producer who also played a big role in the success of Titanic and Avatar. Landau was the one who took care of the practical side of production, making sure the project could actually happen, even while Cameron was tied up with Avatar. The story begins when Dr. Dyson Ito discovers the remains of a cyborg in a scrapyard. From there, he rebuilds her into the figure we know as Alita, a seemingly small cyborg girl with incredible strength. The problem is, Alita has no memory of who she once was. As time goes on, fragments of her past start to resurface. She discovers her true identity as a skilled warrior from a forgotten era, all while getting caught up in a world of corruption, violence, and power struggles between the gritty Iron City below and Zalem, the mysterious floating city above. 1. Themes and messages. At its core, Alita isn't just about cyborg battles. It's about identity and life choices. Alita keeps asking herself, who am I really? But more importantly, she learns that what defines her isn't her past. It's the choices she makes in the present. There's also a strong theme of social injustice, the contrast between the hardships of Iron City and the luxury of Zalem. It's hard not to draw parallels to the real-world gap between the wealthy elite and those struggling to survive. 2. Visual style. This is one of the biggest things that makes Alita stand out. The visuals combine live action with incredibly detailed CGI. Alita herself was brought to life with performance capture technology, so her expressions stay human and believable, even with those big, manga-style eyes. At first, many viewers felt she fell into the uncanny valley and looked a bit odd. But over time, that very design became a unique trait that made her memorable. Iron City is also breathtaking, packed with details, dirty, crowded, yet alive. From the motorball arena to its narrow alleyways, the whole world feels immersive. 3. Production process. James Cameron had actually secured the rights to Ganmu back in the early 2000s, but the project only came to life in 2019. 4 years, people thought it was impossible because the technology just wasn't ready. It was only after the success of Avatar that Cameron realized performance capture could finally bring Alita to the big screen. Here's the difference. Motion capture only records body movements, while performance capture captures the actor's entire performance, including facial expressions, eye movements, and even vocal nuances. That's how Rosa Salazar's full acting could be transferred into the CGI version of Alita. The process was handled by Weta Digital, the same studio behind The Lord of the Rings and Avatar. They created Alita with incredible detail, over 8,000 handcrafted digital parts, including 800 components just in her hands. Her expressions were brought to life with 2,500 different facial shapes that captured even the smallest emotional nuances from Rosa's performance. Iron City itself was built from a combination of practical sets in Texas and digital extensions. Weta even used real-world industrial city data then layered it with Havana-inspired neon, grit, and chaos to make the city feel crowded and alive. The motorball sequences were almost entirely CGI, shot with dynamic virtual cameras styled after Formula One racing, while water, hair, and cloth were simulated in hyper-realistic detail to make the world fully immersive. In the end, Weta didn't just create a digital character, they fused Rosa Salazar into Alita's cyberpunk world, crafting the illusion of a digital human who still felt emotional and real. 4 fun facts about Alita. Rosa Salazar, who played Alita, actually trained in martial arts to prepare for her performance capture scenes. Motorball, the brutal sport featured in the film, was directly inspired by a popular arc in the manga. James Cameron's original draft was massive, around 600 pages. It was Rodriguez who streamlined it into a tighter, filmable script. Many fans consider the movie underrated, sparking an online movement called #AlitaSequel to push for a second film. And it turns out their effort wasn't in vain. Producer John Landau and Robert Rodriguez have both confirmed that a sequel is currently in development. 5. Theory and symbolism. Many fans believe Zalem isn't just a mysterious city, it's a symbol of unreachable power, almost like a false utopia. Alita herself is often seen as a metaphor for the immigrant child, or an outsider trying to find her place in a new world. She's powerful, yet emotionally vulnerable, making it easy for audiences to connect with her journey. 6. Controversy and fan response. Like many live-action adaptations of manga and anime, Alita, Battle Angel didn't escape controversy. One big point of debate was whitewashing. Some early fans questioned why Alita wasn't played by a Japanese actress, given that the source material is Japanese. But James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez emphasized that Alita is a cyborg with a universal identity, and casting Rosa Salazar was more about performance and the performance capture technology than ethnicity. There was also criticism about the pacing. Many felt the motorball arc and world building were a bit rushed, as if too much was crammed into one film. This makes sense since the movie tried to condense several important arcs from the manga into just over 2 hours. For manga fans, those details felt like a nostalgic treat. But for newcomers, the story could feel confusing or too quick in jumping from one conflict to another. Looking at critics' reviews, the response was mixed. On Rotten Tomatoes, Alita sits at around 61%, meaning not all critics were impressed, especially with the dialogue and pacing. Some major outlets said the film favored visuals over narrative. On the other hand, general audiences gave it much higher scores on Audience Score and IMDb, showing that fans appreciated it more than critics did. That said, many viewers felt the movie stayed true to Yukito Kishiro's work in world design, characters, and its philosophical themes. This helped fuel the large online movement with the #AlitaSequel. Fans worldwide continue to push for 20th Century Studios and James Cameron to continue Alita's story. Even now, the most common question remains: when will the sequel be made? A clear sign the film left a lasting impact and built a loyal fan base. In the end, Alita Battle Angel is an example of how an adaptation can be controversial yet still beloved. It might not have been a massive box office hit at the time, but its impact has endured, building a community, reviving interest in a classic manga, and leaving behind a visual legacy that still inspires. So what about you? Are you one of those waiting for the sequel? Or do you think the first movie was enough to close Alita's story? Share your thoughts in the comments, because the conversation around this movie definitely isn't ending anytime soon. And as always, if you enjoyed this kind of discussion, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video, only here on Sci-Fi Junkies. Bye!